Welcome to the foremost power sector program, Power Wheel, a production of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN. Keep staying safe as the federal government and all stakeholders work hard to contain the spread of the novel coronavirus, otherwise called COVID-19. Our edition today brings you a series of interview sessions with top drivers and management staff of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, about how they are steering the only national power transmission utility firm in the country. While you hear from the head transmission service provider, TSP Engineer Victor Adewumi, about the operations and milestones in his department, Engineer Maman J. Lawal, the head Independent System Operations ISO, speaks further about managing the national power grid, especially during the period of lockdown of critical states with cases of COVID-19 and restriction of movement across other states. The market operator, Engineer Edmond Eje of TCN, speaks on managing the electricity market towards ensuring that the power sector operation and growth are sustained, despite the national emergency thrown up by the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria. We hope you would have a splendid viewing experience on this half-hour program. My name is Chinwenwa Anyanwu. The transmission service provider, TSP, is one of the core arms of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, that focuses on the provision and maintenance of bulk power transmission infrastructure nationwide. TSP is currently expanding the capacity for bulk power evacuation by commissioning new bulk power transformers, rehabilitating and expanding power transmission lines, among other feats. The head of TSP, Engineer Victor Adewumi, speaks more about these visions in this interview. How do TCN staff under your supervision operate during the COVID-19 movement restriction?
I must admit that it has not been easy. It has not been easy in the area of our movement, staff moving from their houses to the substations. Of course, we have to divide ourselves into groups, form ourselves into shifts, preparing a kind of shift, roster, duty roster, so that at every point in time, you have the maintenance staff, on duty to be able to rise up to any problem that may occur in their respective substation. Not only that, we making sure that all the regional transmission managers are on their duty. We send a kind of circular to all of them that all of them must, remain on their duty post throughout the period of this pandemic, so that they can monitor the problems in their respective substation and able to rise up to all those challenges. We need to, put that confidence on our staff that they should go to the bush. They are not very comfortable, especially without security, going to the bush to work alone. We give them some kind of confidence at times. We ask them to work with security agencies, get police in the nearest, police station to lead the patrol. So that is how we are working. And in that way, when they have security agencies with them, at least their confidence is boosted.
What are the major projects outlined for TSP this year?
We have a lot of projects, coming up. The last time we discussed, don't forget that I told you that we have a lot of lines we want to reconductor. So because we have a lot of stations where we have, in terms of transformer capacity, we have, transformer capacity, but we don't have the line capacity to deliver the power to those transformers because we are limited by the capacity of the line. So we are reconducting this line. And we've already, commenced implementation of the one from Ikeja West to Alimosho to Ogba. That is already ongoing as we speak. But we have a lot of, substation that are equally coming up, new substation. In the north, we have new stations like Kasaore, Babura, Mashi, Gwaram, and Bininkudu. So those stations, they are 5 in number. Anytime from now, the advertisement will come out for us to commence the implementation of the project. Again, down south, we have our Oba Newi that have been abandoned for a very long time. So these stations the line is ongoing as we speak, because those stations are there, but the line from Onitsha to Oba, from Oba to Inewi has been a challenge. But we have been able to collaborate with Anambra State government, and our contractors are already on that line. So we are hoping that we should be able to deliver the project before the end of this year. And again, we have other substations that are coming up, the Ijesha issue, the Lupeju, Kiama, Shaki. Those stations also are in the pipeline. So we should be able to start the implementation of the project before the end of this year.
TCN recorded some giant steps in the first quarter, especially by commissioning transformers and other critical projects to boost bulk power evacuation. How was that achieved?
The month of January alone, we were able to commission 7 power transformers. All it was done through our in-house capacity. Don't forget that we are trying to improve on our in-house ability to deliver projects, because contrary to what many people thought, the money is not there. Unlike before that we can afford to award all our projects, we can't afford that anymore. So, and that's why we are making sure that we should be able to do a lot of this transformer installation in-house to reduce the cost. So we are training our people, and we are giving them the confidence to be able to do most of this job in-house.
What is your message to the members of staff of TCN who are on essential duty while COVID-19 period lasts?
We are appealing to them to be on duty. It's a national call. That is our own response to this COVID-19. You can imagine if people are at home without power supply, it will be disastrous. So it is because we are there. That is why people are even ready to even stay at home. Don't forget that we are still, in the heat period. So keeping people at home is because there is supply. And all across the value chain, we are relating with the Gencos, and we are equally relating with the distribution companies. You can even see that the level of stability now, that we are a little bit more, even more stable. It's because we are there. Our people are on station now 24/7 to be able to rise up to any challenges that may come up from their substations. All the regional transmission managers are on duty 24 most of the time, at least up to 6 p.m. every day, monitoring all the substations under them, and to be able to mobilize any team, as a kind of a rapid, response squad to attack and rise up to any challenge that may occur in their respective substation. So we continue to appeal to them that it's a national duty, it's their own sacrifice to making sure that COVID-19 is completely eradicated in the country.
What are the safety and protective measures you would want to remind the field and in-house engineers of TCN to adhere to?
We cannot do this job without observing safety. 330 kV is not a voltage you joke with. Of course, at every point in time, they are fully kitted before they can even walk either on the line or in the switchyard. Of course, we have our own, safety code that we adhere strictly to before we can walk in the switchyard. So they know that we must observe all the safety rules before they can walk in the switchyard.
That was Engineer Victor Adewumi, the head of TSP at TCN, speaking on how the company is operating at this critical time. Let's take a break, and when we return, you will hear from Engineer Maman J. Lawal, who is the head, Independent System Operations, ISO, another core section of TCN, about its operations. Don't go away.
The management of the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, wants you to stay safe while stakeholders battle the coronavirus COVID-19 pandemic. The World Health Organization, WHO, and the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, NCDC, has outlined some safety tips for you. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, and mouth with your hands unless they are properly cleaned and sanitized. Wash your hands regularly with clean running water and soap. Use alcohol-based sanitizers for your hands when you touch an open surface or in contact with someone. Maintain social distancing rules and keep at least 2 meters distance from others during this period. Report suspected cases to public health officials and the nearest NCDC platform. Finally, obey the stay-at-home rule except for essential workers like those of TCN, and follow other safety measures provided by governments and authorities from time to time. Together, we can defeat the coronavirus pandemic as you do your bit.
The Independent System Operations, ISO, is the sole operator of the national power grid system responsible for managing power system frequency in terms of evacuating energy generated by the generation companies, GENCOs, and wheeling same nationwide to the networks of the 11 power distribution companies, DISCOs, for supply to consumers. The Independent System Operations Head, Engineer Maman J. Lawal, speaks on how power supply on the national power grid was sustained during the period of lockdown of critical states with cases of COVID-19 and restriction of movement across other states. Stay with us. Is there any significant impact on the operations of ISO during the COVID-19 period?
There is virtually no impact on our operations thus far. However, the inexorable effect on our strategic plans cannot be understated. The key operation staff have been coming to the office. They have been up and doing. They have shown exemplary sense of commitment to duty in the last couple of weeks that we have had to grapple with the scourge of this pandemic. Our expectation is that they will sustain the tempo in such a manner that our business processes will not be vitiated in any form. So we expect that across the entire grid, the essential staff, the grid operators, the grid controllers, the system planners, those who handle market administration will go about their normal duties without any issue. So that's the expectation, and we have a responsibility, the onerous responsibility to ensure they keep on track.
How are you keeping in touch with staff members of TCN on duty to drive the company's operations?
We have been in touch with them severally. As a matter of fact, the relationship has been further strengthened, such that they will understand why they have to be on duty and why they have to redouble their effort to maintain seamless operational services. Our role, it is critical. Like I said initially, we have our strategic plans that would naturally be affected to a great extent. But even at that, this will depend on how much longer we will have to, the lockdown will be sustained. In any case, we have that commitment to ensure that the critical tasks that have to be performed, in our strive to keep the grid running, will be adequately, carried out by our staff across board. We have a strategy. This has been discussed with the frontline ISO managers. We have shared understanding with the MD on this. So I do not expect any hindrance to our core functions.
What has been your advice to the staff members, especially on safety and protective measures?
There are instances where some of them have had issues with their security personnel. We have talked to them, we have interacted with our regional operation managers, and we have asked them to take their time and explain where effective communication is useful. And we want to expect they will live up to these advice. They have been exhorted to be at their best all the time. Okay, if they have issues they are unable to handle personally, of course, they are at liberty to escalate it so that we can engage appropriate government officials to ensure they understand why they have to move out to perform their duties. What is more, Mr. President's address has actually touched on these on this. Okay, I'm saying that the address actually talked about the essential staff, who they are, all right, and how the transmission company of Nigeria will fall under this classification. It is clear, but of course, in some cases, you still need some explaining to do, okay, so that they will understand why you have to move out where you move out. Because it is not in all cases that security personnel are able to differentiate the people they meet on the streets, okay? So they really have to take their time to explain, as some of us have been doing. And I must say, I have not had any issue with any of the security personnel. All it takes is to properly identify yourself, okay? Make them understand that you are an essential worker. And they would understand, and they have always shown that due sense of understanding. That has been my experience, and I want to believe it is not remarkably different from other people's experience.
What is your message and advice to Nigerians on the COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria?
COVID-19 indeed is a pandemic. Okay, the impact is felt the world over. We have had our own share of this. My prayer and wish is that God, in His infinite mercy, will heal those who have been affected, and those who have not been affected are enjoined to heed, the directives of government and of government agencies, such that they will stay safe. That is my wish and indeed my prayer. Thank you.
You have heard from Engineer Maman Lawal about how TCN is managing the national electricity grid during the pandemic and restraints period. The market operations, a section of the ISO at the Transmission Company of Nigeria, is the core manager of the Nigerian electricity market, supervising ancillary services payments, among others, in the power sector. This section is headed by the market operator, Engineer Edmond Eje. He speaks on managing the electricity market towards ensuring that the power sector operation and growth are sustained, especially in this period of national emergency. Tell us about the operations of the market operations during the lockdown period of COVID-19 as an essential service provider.
It's very, very unfortunate that an epidemic like COVID-19 has besieged the entire world, not only in Nigeria. And the trend is that this virus has been escalating, traversing the whole world. In the best interest of the Nigerians, the government has come out to issue instruction. One of the ways to control is the lockdown. And I am sure everybody appreciated the step taken by the government. There are essential services that will not just let go. Provision of electricity is one of the essential services, just like the medicals and all the rest of them. So we have maintained skeletal services. We've been able to issue pass to some of our essential workers so that they'll be able to make it to the office and provide some of those solutions required on daily basis so that the supply of electricity goes without any obstruction, especially at this time. Because I was telling somebody the other time, imagine what the life will look like with the COVID-19 and then there's no power. It is just like the world has gone 100 years backwards. And so we have been maintaining our services, have been coming here every day. We know there are services that require remote operation or video conferencing and all that. But in this case, we need to interact with our database. Our databases are not in the residential quarters. So we need to come, maintain required physical distance. And most importantly, the organization has even ceased receiving visitors at this time, except it's a visitor that is on essential duty as we perform. That's how we've been doing.
How is TCN coping with distribution load management during the pandemic period when Nigerians expect to get more power supply as they stay at home?
We thank God, within this time, most of them are conscious of the fact that the consumers will not be happy having it so bad. So we would say generally it has not been that bad.
What strategies have you been employing to ensure the job gets done as workers at TCN cope with the pandemic and other inconveniences that come with it?
The other time we had a meeting, and this meeting required that some of the staff be here, but we understood that day that they were delayed on the road because they were not allowed to cross and all the rest of them. We've given them pass. We have also given them a vehicle tag to enable the security officers identify them timely and allow them access. So what we advise them is that take off in time from wherever you stay, so that before you come here, time might not be against you. That's what we say. And of course, what I have told some of my staff is that I have selected them. If you are required, I will notify you that you are expected to be in the office. I don't gain anything by saying all of them should be here. That's more exposure. So what I tell them that each time we require you, you come. But there are a few that basically they should be here. And it's been going on well.
Join us next time for exciting reports and informative sessions on this program, Power Wheel. That is it on this edition of Power Wheel. Do join us next week for another refreshing edition. This episode and the previous ones are available on our YouTube channel. You can also interact with us on our platforms as we strive to serve you better. The management and staff of Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, are concerned about your health. Do strive to stay safe away from COVID-19 by washing your hands, sanitizing your hands, practicing physical distancing, and other preventive measures announced by the relevant authorities. I am Chinwenwa Anyao. Enjoy the rest of your day.